Hello, dear one. Welcome back to the Bible Odyssey. And if this is your first time, welcome home. Tonight, I want you to rest in something gentle and true. Let's set your heart in a peaceful direction by speaking these words together. You can say them softly, aloud if you'd like. Here they are. I believe I'm going to sleep well tonight. Let's say it again, a little more slowly. I believe I'm going to sleep well tonight. One more time, breathing it in. I believe I'm going to sleep well tonight. That's it, beloved. Let those words settle over your heart like a warm blanket. And tomorrow morning, the moment your eyes open, whisper these words 3 times before you even rise. I believe something wonderful is going to happen today. I believe something wonderful is going to happen today. I believe something wonderful is going to happen today. Now, let's receive and proclaim the powerful, loving words of God. Tonight, you are the ground, not the sower, the ground, not the one scattering seed, but the one quietly receiving it. You are the soft soil that gives itself to whatever falls into it. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to produce or perform. You simply are. And the sower has already passed by. I know this feels unfamiliar, especially if your heart is used to striving, always initiating, always carrying the effort, always trying to make something happen. But tonight, you are not asked to do any of those things. The ground simply receives, and in its quiet openness, the seed becomes what it was always meant to be. So take a slow, deep breath in, and gently let it go. Relax, and let your shoulders soften. Let your mind rest. Imagine the seed drifting down through the air, floating, falling tenderly into the soil of your heart. Close your eyes now and simply receive the Word of God. Matthew chapter 13, verses 1 through 23. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. The disciples came to him and asked, Why do you speak to the people in parables? He replied, Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes, because they see, and your ears, because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop, yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. A farmer went out to sow his seed. This is how Jesus begins, with the most ordinary agricultural image in the world of first-century Galilee. The farmer going out in the planting season, walking the field, the seed in the bag at his side, the motion of the arm broadcasting the seed across the ground in the wide, generous arc of the ancient sowing method. The ancient farmer did not plant seed the way modern agriculture plants it. He did not use a drill that deposits seed at precise intervals in prepared rows. He did not assess the soil quality of each section of the field before deciding where the seed was worth spending. He walked and he scattered. The seed left his hand and fell where it fell, on the good ground and on the path and on the rocks and among the thorns, in the same generous motion, from the same hand, with the same intention. The sowing was indiscriminate. This is not carelessness. This is the nature of the method. You walk the whole field. You scatter across all of it. Some of the seed falls in places where it will not produce. The farmer knows this. The farmer accepts this as the cost of ensuring that the seed reaches the places where it will produce. The indiscriminate sowing is how you guarantee that the good soil receives the seed, by sowing on everything, including the ground that will not produce. This matters theologically before the soils are described. The sower did not assess the condition of your interior before sowing the word into it. He did not walk the field of your life and identify the path soil and the rocky soil and the thorny soil, and decide to withhold the seed from those conditions while reserving it for the good soil. He sowed on the path and on the rocks and among the thorns and on the good ground. The same word, the same generous arm, the same falling where it falls. The word has been sown into you, into whatever condition tonight finds you in. The path soil condition and the rocky soil condition and the thorny soil condition received the same seed as the good soil condition. The sowing is already done. The seed is in the ground. The question now is what the ground does with it. And the question now is, what kind of ground are you tonight? As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. The path is not barren ground, it is compacted ground. There is a difference that matters enormously. Barren ground is empty ground, ground that has never had anything in it, ground that has no history of life, ground that simply lacks the capacity. The path is not barren. The path is full of the compaction of every foot that has walked on it. The path became what it is through use, through the weight of the traffic, through the years of being the ground that bore what passed over it. The path is compressed earth, and the compression is the history of the path. Every person who walked on it, every burden that crossed it, every season of the rain and the drying and the rehardening. The seed cannot penetrate the path because the path is too full of its own history to receive anything new. Jesus explained this soil to his disciples. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. Does not understand it. The word that lands on the path soil does not penetrate far enough to be received. It sits on the surface, exposed, available to be taken, and the birds come quickly before the seed can work its way into the ground, and the word that was sown is gone, not rejects it, not hears it and deliberately turns away, does not understand it. The word lands without penetrating. The surface is too compressed for the word to find its way in. You have been path soil. Maybe you are path soil tonight. And here is what needs to be said about the path soil condition before anything else is said. The hardness is not sin. The hardness is not the evidence of a bad person or a corrupt heart or a faith that was never real. The hardness is the natural, honest, completely understandable response of ground that has been walked on. You do not condemn the path for being a path. The path became what it is because the path was used, because people walked on it, because it bore the weight of the traffic, because it did the work that paths do across all the seasons of its being a path. The path soil condition is the condition of the person who has been walked on too many times, who has been hurt in the faith, by the church, by a leader, by people who said the words and then lived in ways that made the words feel like a lie, who has been disappointed by God or by what they were told God would do and did not do, who brought the openness to the word and found that the openness was not protected, who tried the faith with sincerity and found that the sincerity was not sufficient to prevent the hard things from happening, who has been carrying the weight of the theological disappointment for long enough that the surface of the interior has been compressed into something closer to stone than to soil. The path did not choose to be a path. The path became what it is through a history of use that the path did not control. And here is what the parable does not say about the path soil. It does not say the path soil is permanently the path soil. The parable describes the condition. It does not declare the verdict. The path that has been compacted can be broken up. The farmer who wants to plant in the path takes a plow to it, turns the ground, disrupts the compression, opens the surface to receive what it could not receive in its compacted state. The breaking up of the path is not a punishment. It is the preparation. It is the act that makes the receiving possible again. The plow is available. Tonight, the naming of the hardness is the beginning of the breaking up. The person who can say, "I am path soil right now," and can say it without shame, and can hold the hardness before the one who made the field and knows what the path requires. That person has already begun the breaking up process. The acknowledgement is the first movement of the plow. The seed is on the surface. The plow is coming, and the path will be broken up, and what is on the surface will find its way in. Some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. The rocky soil is the most painful of the four conditions to name, because it begins so well. The seed falls on ground that has enough soil to receive it. The seed germinates. The plant appears. There is the specific, genuine, entirely real joy of the beginning. The green shoot breaking the surface. The visible evidence that something is happening. The feeling that this time the word has found the ground it was looking for, and the growth is going to be real. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. Quickly. The rapid beginning that looks like vitality, but is actually the absence of depth. The shoot comes up fast because the seed does not need to push through much to reach the surface. The soil is thin and the surface is close, and the germination is swift. But the same shallowness that made the beginning quick makes the continuation impossible. The roots cannot go down because the rock is there, and without roots the plant cannot sustain what it started. When the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Jesus explained this soil. The seed falling on rocky places is the person who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. When trouble comes, not if, when. The trouble that comes because of the word, the resistance of the life that does not reorganize easily around new commitments, the cost of the faith that the initial enthusiasm did not fully account for, the disappointment that arrives when the word does not make everything easier and more comfortable and more resolved, the difficulty that the beginning did not include, and that the rootless plant cannot survive. You have been rocky soil. So has almost everyone who has been in the faith for any length of time. The retreat that transformed you for a month. The sermon that changed everything until the first significant difficulty arrived. The worship experience that produced a genuine, real, completely sincere commitment that lasted until the commitment was tested and was found to be thinner than the testing required. The beginning that was real and the continuation that was not. And here is what this is not. This is not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the deliberate performance of a faith you do not have. The calculated presentation of an interior condition that you know to be false. The rocky soil is something entirely different. The faith was real. The joy was genuine. The commitment was sincere. The beginning was not a lie. What was absent was the root. The slow, unglamorous, entirely invisible work of the root going down, the daily returning to the word when the word is not exciting, the prayer that is conversation rather than performance, the community that holds you when the holding is not inspiring, the long, ordinary faithfulness that produces no visible shoot at all, but that builds the root system that makes the shoot sustainable. The rocky soil person does not fail from insincerity. They fail from shallowness, and shallowness is not a moral condition. It is a developmental one. The soil can deepen. The rocks can be cleared, not in a weekend, in the long, patient, completely unspectacular work of the ordinary faithfulness that looks nothing like a spiritual breakthrough and is, in fact, the most important spiritual work available. The root going down, one length at a time. In the daily practice that does not feel like it is producing anything, and that is, in the dark underground where no one can see, producing the root system that the next test will require. If tonight you are looking at a beginning that did not continue, a faith that was real and then was tested and then was found to be shallower than the test required, you are not condemned by the parable, you are described by it, and described is not the same as finished. The rocks can be cleared, the root can go down, deeper than the beginning allowed. It is going down right now, in this returning, in this one night of the ordinary faithfulness. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants so that they did not bear grain. The thorny soil is the most common condition in the 21st century. Not the dramatic hardness of the path, the person who has been walked on until they cannot receive. Not the shallow enthusiasm of the rocky soil, the person whose beginning outran their roots. The thorny soil is the person who is doing everything, who has a full life, a busy life, a life organized around real commitments and genuine relationships and actual responsibilities. The thorny soil is the fertile life, the life that can grow things, that is growing things, many things, an abundance of things, but in which the word is growing alongside so many competitors that the competitors are winning the competition for the light. Jesus named the thorns, the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, the desires for other things. Begin with the worries of this life, not extraordinary worries, the ordinary ones. The mortgage that requires a specific income to service, and the income is not guaranteed, and the gap between what is required and what might actually materialize is the thing that lives at the back of every other thought. The health anxiety, not diagnosed, not acute, the chronic low-grade awareness that bodies fail and medicine is imperfect, and the people you love are vulnerable in ways that your vigilance cannot fully address. The parenting fear, the career uncertainty, the relationship that is not quite settled, the future that is not quite clear, the accumulation of the ordinary concerns of a person navigating a life in a world that is genuinely uncertain and genuinely risky, and that provides ample material for worry without requiring any particular catastrophe to generate it. The worries grow. They fill the available space. They occupy the mental bandwidth that the word also requires. They compete for the same sunlight, the same attention, the same quiet interior space that the seed needs to become what it is growing toward, and the worries are faster growing than the word. The worries do not require cultivation. They generate themselves from the material of daily life, and they grow toward whatever light is available. The deceitfulness of wealth, not wealth itself, the deceitfulness of it. The specific lie that the next financial milestone will be the one that finally produces the security that finally creates the space for the things that actually matter. The next raise, the next house, the next level of financial stability that is always slightly ahead of the current position. The accumulation that promises to eventually provide the conditions for the life of meaning and keeps moving the threshold forward so that the conditions are never quite present. The deceit is not in the wanting. The deceit is in the believing that the getting will produce what the getting has never yet produced. That the arrival at the next milestone will be the arrival that finally frees the interior for the word. That the enough will eventually be enough. And the word waits in the shade of the wealth-seeking, getting a little less light each year, growing a little more slowly than the thorns that are getting the sun. The desires for other things, everything else. The full and various catalogue of the things that are not the word and that grow in the same interior soil and compete for the same resources. Not evil things, other things. The phone that is always accessible, the entertainment that is always available, the social comparison that the platforms make inescapable, the distraction that the modern life provides in quantities that no previous generation has had to navigate. The constant availability of stimulation that is faster and more immediately gratifying than the word, and that therefore, without deliberate and sustained effort, occupies the space that the word was meant to occupy. The thorny soil is not a bad life. This is the most important thing to say about the thorny soil condition and the thing most likely to be missed. The thorns are not evil. They are other growths, other things, other competing claims on the same interior resources. The person in the thorny soil condition is not a bad person. They are a full person. A person whose life is organized around genuine responsibilities and real relationships and actual commitments. And the fullness, which is in so many ways a gift, is also the problem. The word is being crowded out not by hostility, but by competition. And the word cannot win the competition without help, without the deliberate clearing of space. The thorns can be cleared, not permanently. They grow back, which is why the clearing is a practice rather than a single act. The daily returning to the word that clears a small space and holds it open. The weekly community that opens a larger one. The seasons of deliberate simplification, the Sabbath practice, the fasting, the retreat, that give the root of the word the light and the water it has been competing for in the thorny season. If tonight your faith is present but crowded, if the word is somewhere in the life but the worries and the wealth-seeking and the desires for other things are growing faster and taking more space, you are in the most common condition the parable describes. And the tending is available. Tonight is 1 hour. 1 hour in which the phone is dark and the worries can be set down with the one who holds them better, and the wealth-seeking is paused, and the desires for other things are quieter than usual. 1 hour in which the word is getting the light that the thorns have been blocking. 1 hour of the clearing. The thorn clearing happens in hours like this one, accumulated across the years of the full life, keeping the word in enough light to survive the thorny season. And the word is alive in you, tonight, in this hour, getting the light. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. The good soil is not dramatic. This needs to be said clearly and then said again, because the temptation is always to imagine the good soil as a special condition. The condition of the particularly devout, the spiritually gifted, the people for whom the faith comes naturally and deeply, and without the struggles of the path, soil and the rocky soil and the thorny soil. The good soil as the condition of the exceptional person. The person whose interior is always open and always deep and always uncluttered, and whose faithfulness produces the harvest as a matter of effortless spiritual nature. This is not what Jesus described. Jesus explained the good soil as the person who hears the word and accepts it and produces a crop. That is the entire description. Hears, accepts, produces. There is nothing in the explanation about the good soil person being exempt from the struggles of the other 3 soils. Nothing about them being permanently beyond the path soil hardness, or the rocky soil shallowness, or the thorny soil crowding. Nothing about them having arrived at a level of spiritual development that places them above the conditions that the other soils describe. The good soil is the soil that, whatever its condition, receives the word and holds it long enough for the root to go down. And the harvest is not instant. This is the other thing that is almost always missed about the good soil. The seed that falls on good soil does not immediately produce 30 or 60 or 100 times. It goes into the ground. It disappears. There is a period, sometimes a long period, in which there is no visible evidence that anything is happening. The seed is doing its work underground, in the dark, where no one can see it, and where the farmer cannot monitor the progress by looking at the surface. The root is going down. The moisture is being drawn up through the root into the emerging structure of the plant. The slow, entirely invisible, completely unglamorous work of becoming something is happening beneath the surface of the soil. And then, in the season, in the time that the seed knows, and the soil knows, and the sower knows, the shoot appears. And then the harvest. 30 times what was sown, 60 times, 100 times. The harvest that is disproportionate to the planting, not because the seed was extraordinary, but because the soil held it long enough for the seed to do what the seed was made to do. The soil that holds, that receives and does not immediately produce, that goes through the dark underground season of the invisible work, and that eventually yields what the patient holding produces. The good soil is not a destination you arrive at once and inhabit permanently. it is a practice, the daily returning that keeps the path from compacting, the patient, unglamorous faithfulness that sends the root deeper than the rocky shallowness allows, the deliberate clearing of the thorns that creates the space the word requires. The good soil is the result of the tending, and the tending is not glamorous and does not always produce the immediate evidence that the tending is working, and is often indistinguishable from the inside from the simple faithfulness of showing up. The good soil person is often in the dark season, the underground season, the season between the sowing and the harvest, in which there is no visible evidence of what is happening below the surface, the season in which the faith is present but quiet, in which the root is going down but nothing is coming up, in which the patient, entirely ordinary, completely unexciting work of the underground is the whole of what is available. That season is not failure. That season is the root going down, and the harvest is coming. In the season, the seed knows, in the time that the good soil holds it long enough to produce. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. Here is what the parable knows about you. You have been all 4 soils, not 4 different people, the same person in 4 different seasons. The path soil and the rocky soil and the thorny soil and the good soil are not categories of believer into which individuals are sorted and remain. They are conditions of the interior life that the same person moves through across the seasons of a single faith journey. The same person can be path soil in the winter of a hard season and good soil in the spring of a renewed one, can be rocky soil in the enthusiasm of their 20s and develop the root of the good soil in the patient faithfulness of their 40s, can be thorny soil in the full and demanding middle years of the life and find, in a sabbatical season, that the word they thought was being choked was simply waiting for the light. The soils are seasons, not verdicts. This is the thing the parable is most frequently misread to say, that the 4 soils are 4 types of person, and you must determine which type you are and live with the determination. That the path soil person is the person who will always be path soil, who was never really going to receive the word, whose hardness is the evidence of a fundamental incapacity rather than a current condition. That the rocky soil person is the person whose enthusiasm will always outrun their roots, who is constitutionally incapable of the depth the word requires. The parable does not say any of this. The parable describes 4 conditions that the same seed encounters in 4 different kinds of ground. It does not say that the ground is fixed. It does not say that the path cannot be broken up, or the rocks cannot be cleared, or the thorns cannot be pulled. It describes the condition as the condition is, with honest precision, without flattery, and leaves the management of the condition to the one who made the field. And the question tonight is not, which soil am I ultimately? The question tonight is, which soil am I right now? And what does the seed need from the ground that I am in this specific season? If you are path soil right now, the hardness is the condition, not the verdict. Name it. The naming is the beginning of the breaking up. The farmer who knows the ground is compacted can plow it. The farmer who pretends the path is good soil will sow without tending and be confused by the result. If you are rocky soil right now, the shallowness is the condition, not the verdict. The root can go deeper, not in a single dramatic breakthrough, in the accumulation of the ordinary returnings. The root goes down one length at a time in the daily practice that does not feel like it is producing anything. And it is going down right now, in this returning, in this one night. If you are thorny soil right now, the crowding is the condition, not the verdict. One thorn can be cleared tonight, not all of them. 1. The worry set down, the phone dark, the space opened for the word to get the light it has been competing for in the full life. The thorn clearing happens in hours like this one, accumulated across the years. And if you are good soil right now, if the root has gone down in the long ordinary faithfulness, if the underground work has been happening in the dark, the harvest is coming. You may not be able to see it yet. The underground season feels like nothing from the inside, but the seed knows what it is doing in the dark, and the soil that holds it long enough will see what the holding produces. All 4 conditions are available to you. All 4 are receivable tonight. The sower does not withhold the seed from the difficult conditions. He sowed on all 4, and the seed is in the ground, whatever ground you are. The parable is alive in your life right now. There is a man whose faith went hard 3 years ago. He would not use the word hard. He would say distant. He would say he still believes, technically, but that the belief has moved from the interior to the perimeter. That it is present the way the furniture of a childhood home is present in memory, real, established, once central to daily life, now encountered only occasionally. He still goes to church on the important days. He still uses the vocabulary of faith in the appropriate social contexts. But inside the using, the surface has compressed into something that does not receive the word the way it once did. The sermons land on the surface and the birds take them. He can hear the language of the faith without feeling it penetrate. He has been telling himself this means the faith was never real. Tonight the parable arrives, and the path soil, the compacted ground, the ground that became path not from barrenness, but from being walked on, the ground whose hardness is the evidence of the using rather than the evidence of a fundamental incapacity, lands in the place where the self-condemnation has been living. He is path soil, not apostate, not fundamentally incapable. Path soil, the condition of the person who has been walked on in specific ways in a specific season, and whose surface has been compressed by the weight of what passed over it. The disappointments that accumulated, the prayers that were not answered in the expected form, the faith community that failed him in specific ways he has not fully named, the theological questions that arrived and were not adequately addressed, and that have been sitting on the surface of the interior like unanswered letters. The weight of all of it pressing the surface down. The plow is available. Tonight the naming is the beginning of the breaking up. The saying I am path soil right now, without shame, without the self-condemnation that calls it apostasy, is the first movement of the plow. The ground is being turned. The compression is being disrupted. and what has been sitting on the surface, unable to penetrate, will find its way in. There is a woman who has been in the faith for 22 years and who recognized herself in the rocky soil description the first time she heard it, and has never been able to shake the recognition. The beginning was real. She can still remember it with the specific clarity that genuine beginnings have. The conversion experience, the clarity of the first months, the sense of the word landing in the deepest available place and taking root, and the life reorganizing around what the root required. She was 24. It was as real as anything she has experienced. And then the difficulty came. The specific, personal, entirely real difficulty that the beginning had not prepared her for. The kind of difficulty that the enthusiasm of the first months had given her no equipment to navigate. The sun came up, the scorching began, and the root that felt deep turned out not to be as deep as the difficulty required. The faith that had been so vivid in the beginning became thinner and thinner in the testing, until what remained was the habit without the substance, the form without the feeling, the showing up without the root. She has been in the faith since, has maintained the practice, has stayed in the community, has never formally left. But with the awareness, present in the honest moments, that what she has now is measurably thinner than what she had at 24. That the beginning was better than the continuation. That the rocky soil description has been the most accurate description of her interior life for 22 years. Tonight the parable arrives differently than it has arrived before, not as the diagnosis of the failure, as the description of a condition that has a remedy. The rocky soil is a season. The root can go deeper. The same person who was rocky soil at 24 can develop the root system at 46 that the beginning lacked. Not a new beginning, the deepening of the one that happened. The root goes down in the patient, ordinary, completely unglamorous way of roots, slowly, invisibly, in the dark, in the daily returning that does not feel like progress and is, underground, the most significant progress available. The root is going down right now, in this returning, in this one night of the ordinary faithfulness that does not feel like faithfulness but is. There is a father of 3 children under the age of 9. The faith is present. The commitment is real. The desire for the word to take root in his life and in his children's lives is genuine and sustained. He goes to church, he reads occasionally, he prays, but the life is full in the way that the life of a father of 3 children under 9 is full, completely, relentlessly, beautifully, exhaustingly full. Every margin is occupied. Every quiet moment is either already claimed by something that needs doing, or is so brief that the decision of how to use it is resolved by the phone. The thorns are not enemies. The thorns are his children, and his work, and his marriage, and the house, and the finances, and the health concerns, and the aging parents, and the relationships that require tending. The thorns are the life, and the life is good, and the word is being crowded out by the good life in the specific, gradual, entirely unintentional way that the thorns crowd the word without hostility. Tonight is 1 hour. The children are asleep. The work is finished. The phone is face down on the nightstand. The worries, there are always worries, can be held by the one who holds them better than he can hold them at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. 1 hour. The word getting the light that the thorns have been blocking. The thorn clearing of 1 hour. And in this 1 hour, the word that has been growing in the shade of the full life is getting the light it needs. This is how the thorn clearing happens. Not in the dramatic clearing of all the thorns at once, in the accumulated hours. The Tuesday nights and the Sunday mornings and the 15 minutes in the car before the day begins. Accumulated across the years of the full life, keeping the word alive in the thorny season. And the word is alive in him, tonight, in this hour, in the light. And there is a woman who does not know she is good soil. She has been in the faith for 31 years, has been in the word and in the community and in the practice across the path soil seasons when the surface was hard, and the rocky soil seasons when the depth was insufficient, and the thorny soil seasons when the fullness crowded everything. Has not always felt like good soil, has often felt like one of the first three. Has come to the word in the hard seasons when the word felt dry, and in the thin seasons when the depth was not what was required, and in the full seasons when the thorns were winning. Has kept coming. The root went down in the 31 years of the keeping coming. Not dramatically, not in a single season of profound spiritual depth. In the Tuesday nights and the dry mornings and the Sunday services that were not inspiring, and the prayer practices that felt mechanical, and the community that was sometimes disappointing, and the returning anyway. The root went down because the ground held the seed long enough, because the tending continued across the difficult seasons, because she showed up when the showing up was the whole of what was available. The harvest she has produced, she does not see it as a harvest. She sees it as the ordinary life of an ordinary believer across 31 ordinary years. The daughter who grew up in a household where someone returned to the Word and has herself developed a faith of her own. The friend who was held in the difficult season by a person who knew how to hold because the holding had been practiced across many seasons. The quiet, consistent, entirely unglamorous influence of a life rooted in the Word across 3 decades. That is the 30 times, the 60 times, the 100 times. She does not know it. The seed knows, the soil knows, and the sower who went out with the generous arm and the indiscriminate scattering, he knows what the holding produces, even when the holder does not. Here is what the parable of the sower and the soil does in a life that receives it and keeps returning to it. It gives the interior life an honest mirror and a vocabulary for the condition. Most content about the faith is aspirational. It holds up the good soil and says, "Be this." It celebrates the harvest and says, "This is what the faithful life produces." It presents the transformation and says, "This is what receiving the word looks like in the person who receives it well." All of this is true and necessary, but it leaves the person in the hard season, the path soil season, the rocky season, the thorny season, without a vocabulary for where they actually are, without a way to describe the interior condition that is honest without being a confession of permanent failure. The parable gives the vocabulary. I am path soil right now, I am rocky soil, I am thorny soil. These are not confessions of permanent incapacity. They are descriptions of current conditions, and current conditions can change. The path can be broken up, the rocks can be cleared, the thorns can be pulled. The condition described by the parable is the condition as it is, precisely, honestly, without flattery, and the describing of it is the first act of the tending. The farmer who knows what kind of soil he is working with can tend it appropriately. The farmer who pretends the path soil is good soil will sow without tending and be confused when the birds take everything. The farmer who names the condition can do the work the condition requires, and the naming requires the honest mirror, and the honest mirror is the parable. The parable also dismantles the belief that the faith life is supposed to be one continuous good soil experience. This belief is widespread and deeply damaging. The person who is in the path soil season looks at the person in the good soil season and concludes, "There is something wrong with me. The hardness must mean the faith is false. The not penetrating must mean the word is not real for me. The failure to produce the harvest must mean the seed was bad, or the sowing was wrong, or this person was never really good soil to begin with." The parable says, no, the faith life moves through the soils, the same person, different seasons, the hardness and the shallowness and the crowding and the quiet underground growth, all of them available to the same interior across the span of a life. The good soil person was path soil once. The path soil person will be good soil again. The seasons turn. The sower keeps sowing on all four conditions into all four seasons with the same generous, completely indiscriminate, non-assessing scattering of the same seed. You are not fixed. The soil is not fixed. The season changes, and the sower goes out again. And now, let everything grow very still. You are in your own room, your own bed, your own dark, and whatever soil tonight finds you in, the hard season or the shallow season or the crowded season or the quiet growing season, the seed is in the ground. The sower has already passed, the arm has already moved, and the seed is in the ground of you, doing what the seed does in the dark. The work that cannot be seen, the work that does not require your supervision, the root going down. Let the path soil be received. If tonight the interior is hard, if the word has been landing on the surface without penetrating, if the faith is at the perimeter rather than the center, if the language of the faith is familiar, but the living of it is distant, the hardness is not the verdict. The path became what it is by being walked on, and the walking on is not condemnation. The sower sowed on the path with the same generous arm that scattered the seed on the good ground. The word is on the surface, and the plow is coming, and the naming of the hardness, I am path soil right now, without shame, without self-condemnation, is the first movement of the breaking up. Let the rocky soil be received. If tonight you are looking at a beginning that did not continue, a faith that was genuine and then was tested and then was found to be shallower than the test required, the description is not the verdict. The root can go deeper than the beginning allowed. It is going deeper right now, in this returning, in this one night of the ordinary faithfulness that does not announce itself as faithfulness. The rock does not have to be cleared all at once. The root goes down one length at a time, and it is going down, in the dark, in the underground where no one can see it, moving toward the depth that the next season will require. Let the thorny soil be received. If tonight the faith is present but crowded, if the word is somewhere in the life, but the worries and the demands and the desires for other things are getting more light, this 1 hour is the clearing, one thorn, the worry set down with the one who holds it better than you hold it at this hour. The distraction paused, the fullness rested, and the word getting the light it has been competing for. The thorn clearing that happens in hours like this one, accumulated across the years of the full life, keeping the word alive through the thorny season. The word is alive in you, tonight, in this hour, and let the good soil be received. If the root has gone down, across the years of the returning, across the path soil seasons and the rocky seasons and the thorny seasons, the harvest is coming. You may not be able to see it. The underground season feels like nothing from the inside, but the seed knows what it is doing in the dark, and the soil that holds it long enough will see what the holding produces. The harvest is coming, more than the planting seemed to warrant, more than the faithfulness felt like it was accumulating toward. The sower knew what he was scattering. A farmer went out to sow his seed. Some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, multiplying 30, 60, or even 100 times. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Sleep now. You are the ground. The seed is in you. The sower has already passed, generous, indiscriminate, completely committed to the scattering. And the seed he sowed into you is doing its work in the dark, right now, while you sleep, going deeper than tonight feels, toward the harvest that is already coming.